Hey everyone, it's your girl Lesline. Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm actually also on my phone. So like my computer is here, my phone is there. I'm using the phone camera. Maybe it looks a little crisper. Anyways, book. We're going to talk about a book chat, and I'm actually going to read a chapter from this book. It's a short and very sweet chapter about anything being possible. So let's get into it. But before we do that, what is this book? If you have not heard of this book, this is a book that my peak performance coach, Hina Khan, raves about, highly recommends it. And she's been reading it for years upon years. Her book is like, there's like barely a cover. Yeah. So when I joined her coaching program, I bought this book and I started reading it, got all these tabbies. And recently on one of our calls, she went to chapter 17 in this book. So the book is called The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. It's an old book. You can get it on Amazon, and I'll leave a link in the description box if you're interested in purchasing. So chapter 17, for me, it's page 39. All things are possible. And I'm going to start not at the beginning. I'm going to start actually like the second paragraph. So here we go. And I'm going to kind of stop and like share pieces of like my life and like how this applies to me. And hopefully it'll help you. Okay. Live your life in a sublime spirit of confidence and determination. Disregard appearances, conditions. In fact, all evidence of your senses that deny the fulfillment of your desire. I'm going to read that sentence again. Live your life in a sublime spirit of confidence and determination. Disregard appearances, conditions. In fact, all evidence of your senses that deny the fulfillment of your desire. So what does that sentence mean? What is it saying? It's saying to live confidently in the fact that the goal that you have, it's going to happen. There's something that my coach Hannah mentions called the reported and the created world, right? And the reported world may tell you you have no money in your bank account. The reported world may say you're not qualified to become a nurse, or you're not qualified to become a coach, whatever it is that you truly, truly want to become. You're not qualified to become a singer, an actor, whatever it is. Reported world may be saying that to you, but there's another world called your created world. Your created world is where you have control over making these assumptions that anything is possible. And going back to all evidence of your senses that deny. So your senses are, you may see, that's one of our senses, right? You may see that your bank account has $0 in it. Deny that. And that sounds wild, right? You're like, Lizzie, this is crazy, right? It does sound like that if this is the first time you're hearing this, but you have to deny those senses. You have to deny the reported world that's telling you that you're a failure because you have no money in your account. I'm here to tell you that you are not a failure because you don't have money in your account. You are worthy. You understand how to use money. Money is in your best interest. Like, these are things you need to start telling yourself, because I know for me, when I see things like that with my account or anything like that, I start to go into like, oh my gosh, I failed. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm horrible with money. Like, I start saying all of these things because of what reported world is telling me. But now that I, have been coached and am now a coach myself, I'm understanding that I can create my own world. I can create my own world that says that I am great with money. I understand how to use it and maximize it. Like, these are the things you need to tell yourself. Okay. So let me just one moment. Okay, we're back. So rest in the assumption that you are already what you want to be. I was looking down at this camera. We'll look up here. Rest in the assumption. So I kind of got ahead of myself with what I already said. Rest in the assumption that you are already what you want to be. For in that determined assumption, you and your infinite being are merged in creative unity, and with your infinite being, God, all things are possible. God never fails. For who can stay his hand or say unto him, what does it? Bleh. For who can stay his hand or say unto him, what doest thou? Through the mastery of your assumptions. And let me just rewind. I feel like, and I'm a 90s kid. So this word assumptions, I think of like, you're an ass. If you get like, if you know that 90s kid, let me know in the comment section. Like when you hear the word assumptions, you're like, oh, I don't want to make an ass of myself. That's what I think. But the way that Neville Goddard describes assumptions, it's actually to your benefit. So when you assume the best will happen. And when you assume, and if you choose to assume the worst will happen. And I apologize if you hear my dog. But yeah, so assumptions, it no longer gets a bad rap, 90s kids. Assumptions are for your best interest. Let's hold on. So through the mastery of your assumptions, you are in very truth enabled to master life. Look up here, Leslie. It is thus that the ladder of life is ascended. So once you make assumptions for the betterment of your life, the ladder of your life ascends, and also your awareness raises and increases. You become more aware. So it is thus that the ladder of life is ascended. Thus the ideal is realized. The clue to the real purpose of life, here it goes, write this down. The clue to the real purpose of life is to surrender yourself to your ideal. So if you've been following me for a while, maybe even just a couple of weeks, I've been talking a lot about letting go, surrender. I've been sharing mudras, which are hand signals to help signal to your body. The one we did recently is how to let go. Because in order to surrender, you have to learn how to let go. And I know for me, that can be challenging. I'm somebody that likes to be in control. And I'm pretty sure you can relate, right? If you're a mom, you're used to it. You're used to being the one that takes care of the home, is in control, that makes the decisions for the family. Like, you're used to being in control. So I know letting go, surrendering is something that I am actively working through. And knowing that the clue to the real purpose of life is to surrender yourself. So using that surrender mudra, and you can look back in my YouTube and I'll see if I can figure out how to link it as I'm saying it now. So you can go and do that mudra to help you work through letting go. So that the clue to the real purpose of life is to surrender yourself to your ideal with such awareness of its reality that you begin to live the life of the ideal and no longer your own life as it was prior to the surrender. So what comes up for me in this last sentence that I just read, you have to be the person that you want to be. So you may see somebody online, or you may know somebody personally, and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to be them. I want to do what they're doing. You can do that. Like, you can be them, but in the sense being like, you can use that person as inspiration. But let me rewind. So what can tend to happen, and I'm talking from experience with me, you can be like, I want to be like this person, or I want to inspire others like this person does. And then you get scared. You get scared because you're like, but am I qualified? Do I have enough certifications? Do I have enough years of experience to do similar things that this person that I look up to is doing? So you start to question yourself, right? You start to question yourself, and you're actually not surrendering to that ideal self. And in essence, you're actually like you're gripping, you're like clenching down and closing off yourself to be that fullest you. So again, I'm just going to read that last sentence again. The clue to the real purpose of life is to surrender yourself to your ideal. Know that you have everything you already need. If anything, you have more than enough. Like if you're one of my subscribers, if you are watching me, you are probably very similar to me. You are probably a well-educated person. You are a caregiver. You know, like the list goes on and on of all of the qualifications you already have. So surrender to that ideal of being the most amazing you that there is. And don't be afraid if you're going to mess up, if you're going to fail. When you fail, that's good. That's showing that you're doing. It's not even trying. It's that you're doing. You're actively doing this thing called life, and you're fully participating. So the next time you fail, think that, like, I am doing this thing called life. I am actively participating in life. I am not just a bystander of life and allowing my life to pass me by. So the next time you fail, think that, because when you fail, you are actually allowing yourself to surrender to the process, And this can be challenging. This is not like, boom. And that's why, I love practicing yoga. I love moving my body with intention. I love breathing through the poses, because when I surrender to the pose, it gives my brain that signal like, oh, I can apply this surrendering in the pose to other things in my life. Each assumption has its corresponding world. So I got ahead of myself in the beginning. I've read this a few times, and I already am like jumping ahead, which is great because I'm grasping this, and I'm also reading this out loud to you so I can so I can continue to understand it like on a deeper and deeper level. So each assumption has its corresponding world. So you remember at the beginning of this video, I mentioned to you that there is the reported world, which involves your senses, right? It involves your sight, feeling, hearing, touch, taste. It involves your senses. That's reported world. And earlier in the chapter, he said, deny those senses. If those senses are the opposite of what you are creating for yourself, deny them. So that's reported world. Created world is where you use your higher faculties. You call on to God, the universe. You use your mind, your thoughts, positive thinking to create a world where you are your best, your fullest, your highest self. So each assumption has that corresponding world. So again, if you are somebody that's like, I want to become a coach where I serve millions of women, right? If that's your goal, whatever your goal is, these corresponding worlds with that goal, it could go one of two ways. You could say, I can't do that. I don't have enough experience. I've never even had a client. I don't know what I'm talking about. That could be your reported world because of what you're seeing right now. Created world. I am more than qualified to serve millions of women. I know what I'm talking about. I am worthy of sharing my story to those around me to transform their life. I am enough. I am more than enough. I am powerful beyond measure. I know what I'm talking about. I am an effective communicator. Everybody that listens to me, that hears my voice, is touched, is moved, and inspired to be a better person. That's my created world and a little snippet of my created world. If you are truly observant, you will notice the power of your assumptions to change circumstances which appear wholly immutable. So if you are truly, I'm like rereading this from me too. If you are truly observant, you will notice the power of your assumptions to change circumstances. So what does that mean? That means like you will start to, like, once you become more aware of your thoughts, you practice mindfulness, you will start to be like, oh, that played out because I assumed that it was gonna play out like that, or that played out because I was actively thinking the best was gonna happen and more greatness. Like, okay, you by your conscious assumptions determine the nature in which you by your conscious assumptions determine the nature of the world in which you live. Ignore the present state and assume the wish fulfilled. So again, I went ahead of myself when I earlier was talking about reported and created world. Typically in reported world, you know, our senses are telling us like, you don't have enough money to start this business, or you have 2 kids. Who are you to start this business? This is me sharing these things with you, okay? He is saying ignore the present state. So ignore that you don't have enough money right now, or that you are, you know, a mom with 2 kids with a full-time job. Like, who are you to start this right now? Ignore the present state and assume the wish fulfilled. So what is, and I'm probably gonna do a separate video on that. What is the wish fulfilled? It's just another word, 2 words to say goal. It's a goal. Your wish fulfilled is your goal. Humans are wired to have a goal. That is like in our nature. We need a goal. If you don't have a goal, you probably feel lost. You probably feel like you're not clear, like you lack mental clarity because you don't have a goal. So the wish fulfilled is the goal. So again, if the goal is that I am so happy and grateful now that I get to serve a minimum of millions of women through the use of yoga, coaching, and mindset. That's my wish fulfilled. It's already happened. It's already happened. And I have to live in that created world and deny the senses, any of my senses, sight, taste, touch, feeling, hearing, that is saying otherwise. And with hearing, it could even be what other people are saying around you, because you're using that sense of hearing to hear maybe that naysayer that's like, you can't do that. You're a mom. You have a full-time job. What are you doing? Or seeing things online, scrolling on social media and seeing people say like, you can't do that. There's too many coaches already. Who are you to do that? Like those type of things, being observant of what in your reported world that you're like, do you need to also like throw away? You get what I'm saying? So ignore the present state and assume the wish fulfilled. The wish fulfilled is the goal. Claim it. Claim it. Here we go. It will respond. So claim that goal. Be the person that has the goal, and it will respond. The law of assumption is the means by which the fulfillment of your desires may be realized. Every moment of your life, consciously or unconsciously, here we go. This part, guys, I was like, okay, I was kind of read. Here we go. Okay. We're gonna do this together. Every moment of your life, consciously or unconsciously, you are assuming a feeling. So when you don't even realize it, you're feeling. You can no more avoid, here it goes. This is the part. This is the part. You can no more avoid assuming a feeling than you can avoid eating and drinking. Just close the video, log off like for the day. When I first heard that, I said, oh, okay. So just like you need to eat and drink water, and I'm going to remind myself to drink water. Cheers. Just like that is a necessity. Like you're like, I have to eat, I'm hungry, or oh my God, I'm so thirsty. And then what do? You get something to eat, you get some water, like you get a drink, like you just know to do that. That's the same with our feelings. We have the power to course correct with our feelings. And this also goes into something about like, if you feel like shit or whatever, you feel bad, don't judge yourself for feeling that way. This is not a like toxic positivity channel where I'm like, you always have to be happy. No, wallow in those feelings. Like, take your moment to wallow and then course correct. What does course correct look like for me? I'm so happy you asked. Go take a walk. I did that this morning. It is Saturday. You'll most likely see this video on a Monday or a Wednesday. But this past weekend, because I have to talk like my past self or anyways, this past weekend, it's a little challenging when the kids are home. My kids are in school Monday to Friday. I have no shame in saying that. I love to be supported. So anyways, on the weekends, it's if we don't have something for them to do, they are home. And my daughter was like, she, a lot of feelings this morning, and I had to constantly check myself. And then I realized I was getting a little overwhelmed. So I was like, I need to course correct. I was starting to get overwhelmed and just feeling like shit. I was like, I need to course correct. So I took a walk, came back inside, did some slow comedic yoga, did that. I journaled. So like I do, those are the ways that I course correct. And we can go into another video where I talk about that more, but you have the power to change your feelings, and you can't avoid, you're always feeling something. You cannot always be happy, but you're always feeling something. So you can no more avoid assuming a feeling than you can avoid eating and drinking. Woo. All you can do is control the nature of your assumptions. And then this is the last sentence. Thus, it is clearly seen that the control of your assumption is the key you now hold to an ever expanding, happier, more noble life. So again, this is the power of awareness. This was chapter 17. All things are possible. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.